So the outreach we do because for the last 10 years or so we've been really trying to reduce the number of people that are dying in this country by suicide. So the outreach is targeted at at-risk populations. So we know that the LGBTQ population is vulnerable. We know that youths are vulnerable. We know that women are vulnerable. So we've been targeting some of these groups and educating teachers and on things like bullying and mental health and LGBTQ issues, right? So that we can create awareness and understanding and a safe environment for these people, letting them know that the lifeline's there, letting them know that there's support, right? And we've seen quite, both in Japan, but we're seeing quite an awareness, growing awareness of these issues being more talked about and supported more in the schools. So that's part of that outreach activity is about saving lives, right? And
saving life. Even though your main purpose of outreach activity is kind of like to say, I don't know, kind of reduce suicide population, but do you think does it kind of also any sort of influence to get people's more awareness against it?
Absolutely. Part of that, you know, yeah, you're right, absolutely right. That awareness and that stigma is a key component of it. Right? So the government has done a great job in this country over the last 10 years in doing a lot of research and trialling out things to try and bring down that suicide rate. And it's sort of like plateaued at the moment, right? It can do a certain amount, and then we have to have the community changing its attitude, right? So you need to have awareness of these things. All of us need to have awareness of these things. So that outreach is sort of targeting at not just those that are at risk, but the teachers, like Billy was saying, the teachers, the parents, the broader community. We have to change our attitude in how we think about mental health problems. It shouldn't be that the person who has the mental health problem has to kind of figure out how to get the help. You wouldn't make anybody else jump all those hurdles with any other health problems. In fact, if I broke my leg and I had it in plaster, you'd all come around and you'd sign it and you'd support them. If I had cancer, you'd all come around and you'd help me. And if I had cancer, there wouldn't be a single person that would say to me, don't take the medicine, even though it's got side effects. You want to get better, you want to live. I have a mental health problem, I'm going to have half the people coming at me saying, don't take the medication, it might drug you out, it might do this. But they die when they don't take the medication. And if I have a mental health problem, I haven't got a whole lot of people coming around and saying, how are you going? Nobody's coming near me. Right? So you have to change the community's attitude so that the people who are struggling with these issues get that support. So the outreach is raising awareness of all of those things. That stigma and that shame is what's costing lives. Right? Here at the moment you only get your psychiatrist covered by the National Health Insurance Scheme, not counselling. So the government is thinking about trying to do something about that, both with the licensing of counsellors at the moment and looking at in a few years of maybe adding that to the healthcare system, and I think that would make a huge difference to people.
Do you think that it kind of affecting to people's awareness to mental health issues as well?
Yes, and not only that, those that are actually going and seeing a psychiatrist, they are often, the psychiatrist is so busy, right, because they can't see all the people that they've got. So the way that they treat them is with medication, because they can't do the counselling with them. So the people that are getting treatment are very heavily medicated. Now that's keeping them alive, but it's not a good advertisement to anybody else that's thinking, well, I'm struggling with maybe a mental health problem. I don't want to look like that person. I don't want to be like zombied out, if you like. So that's not helping them. However, the other extreme of that is that you have people that become suicidal, and we don't want people dying. That they shouldn't be dying from these illnesses that we have a treatment for. So finding that balance is what's going to be really important.
So why do you think in Japan that, you know, finding that balance, and we're still not where we're finding the balance between, you know, within the mental issue treatment? Why do you think?
Well, it's not just Japan, All the countries, many countries around the world are struggling with this because it's very expensive. And the reality is 1 in 4 of us at the moment is going to have a mental health problem, right? And possibly it's going to go up from that to 1 in 3. 50% of all the mental health problems happen before we're 14, and 75% by the time we're 24. We are noticing an increase in youth mental health problems. Right? Japan's just got an increase in youth suicides, which is part of that issue, right? So right around the world, we're watching, in developed countries, we're watching this increase happen in the younger population, and that's only just going to continue on, right? So something is amiss here. It's not just the treatment of it in our society. So how are we going to support those individuals going forward, right? We need to have better access to mental health support, and both at the medical model and treatment, and also in effective treatment. The reality is, when they look at the research in the UK and I think in the US and Australia, where I'm from, that more often than not, even a young person, it takes them a year before they tell their parents or anyone that they even have a mental health problem. So imagine if you had a chest infection and you didn't tell anybody for a year. What do you think the state of your lungs is going to be like at the end of that time? And how exhausted are you going to have been for having to have dealt with that? So the sooner that a young person or anybody can get into treatment, the better. And the research says that if you can get into treatment early, maybe within 6 months, 3 to 6 months, most people are feeling good and functioning again. But the longer that we leave it, the more damage that we're doing to both our self-esteem and our sense of worth and our ability to contribute effectively in the community.
Right, and I think just to go off of that, I mean, Vicky said a lot of things, right? So awareness and prevention. I think the current way that mental health is accepted in Japan is if your condition gets so bad that you can no longer function, then you can go to a psychiatrist and receive support, right? So I think it starts from the top down. I think the government has to make mental health a part of the healthcare system so that people can receive affordable services to mental health care, right? And then I think it starts with teachers. I think it starts with parents. I think it starts with starting to inform children in the schools about mental health and letting them know how to look out for signs of depression or anxiety. Because if you help people to be aware of the issues that are out there, and you reduce the stigma, you have a chance of preventing them from getting so severe that people are now dealing with a complex mental health issue that they have to wrestle with the rest of their life. But if they receive immediate intervention and they have access to those services, then I think we're doing a good job of staying on top of things. Right? Everything gets kind of funneled out to the seishinka, right? Or dealing with kind of the psychiatric side of things. But you have to work in relational, face-to-face talk to help people resolve their issues and be able to move on from them. Maybe it's not even resolving their issues, but it's being able to have an awareness of what is anxiety and how do I work with it, right? Our job is not to give people a cure, it's to give them tools and the ability to manage and work with their own struggles and difficulties, right? And a lot of it happens through, relationship. So the relationships that you have with people around you, is a vital, essential piece of your functioning and well-being, right? If you have you just go through a breakup, or you're struggling in your marriage, or if you're being bullied at school, right? I mean, that person really needs someone that they can connect with and help them work through whatever issue they're dealing with.